The sun had barely crested over the Montana plains when Caleb Whitaker stepped into the barn with a steaming mug of coffee in hand. His boots crunched on old straw, and the scent of horses and leather greeted him like an old friend. He wasn't expecting company, but there, curled up in the hay near the back wall, was a woman. She was asleep, face turned to the soft golden light, one arm wrapped protectively around two toddlers, twins maybe 3 years old. A small pig was nestled against her chest, content and surprisingly quiet. Caleb blinked. The woman stirred. She opened her eyes slowly, blinked at the rafters, and sat up, careful not to wake the children. Her hair was tousled, and her jacket, 2 sizes too big, hung loose over a faded dress. She looked up at Caleb and froze. He cleared his throat. "Morning," he said slowly, tipping his hat. "Should I ask about the pig first or the kids?" She stood quickly, shielding the twins instinctively. The pig snorted softly once and settled back down. "I'm sorry," she said. "We didn't mean to trespass. I thought this barn was abandoned." "It's not." "I'll go," she added. Caleb raised a brow. "You always sleep with livestock?" She didn't answer. The boy beside her rubbed his eyes and yawned. His twin, a girl with the same blonde curls and sleepy face, sat up groggy and laid her head against the woman's leg. Caleb studied the scene. The kids were calm but thin. The woman's hands were rough. Not the kind of rough that comes from working for fun, but from surviving. He pointed at the pig. "She yours? She found us. Wouldn't leave. I think the kids named her Daisy." He looked down at the pig. It stared back, unimpressed. "Well," he said, taking a slow sip of his coffee, "she better not snore." The woman blinked. "What?" "Stay," he said, walking past them toward the tackroom. "If the pig don't snore." She didn't leave. Not immediately, anyway. While the twins chased a ball of twine through the barn aisle, the woman, who finally told him her name was Clara, stood awkwardly near the open doors. She didn't say much. Caleb didn't ask much. He just handed her a broom. "Not much of a welcome gift," he said. "But this place needs sweeping." Clara took it without hesitation. For the next hour, they worked in parallel silence. The kids played in the hay. Daisy followed them like a waddling guardian, and Caleb occasionally caught Clara glancing at him, always with that same uncertain tension, like someone expecting to be turned away at any moment. When the barn was clean, Caleb offered Clara a slice of cornbread and a jar of cold milk. She accepted both without a word. The girl twin, Lila, whispered, then fell asleep on a saddle blanket in the shade. Her brother, Ethan, built a shaky tower out of feed bucket. Caleb sat nearby, arms crossed, watching the way Clara watched her kids. "They yours?" he asked finally. Clara's body stiffened. "They're mine to protect." "Fair enough," he said, not pressing. That night, Clara insisted on sleeping in the barn again. "I don't want to be in anyone's way," she said. "You're not. It's just until I figure things out." Caleb shrugged. "Suit yourself. But the couch is warmer than hay. Hay feels honest." He didn't argue, but he left the barn light on and a blanket. At midnight, he heard the soft patter of feet on the porch. He opened the door to find Clara barefoot, holding one twin in each arm. "I changed my mind," she whispered. Daisy waddled behind, snorting softly. Caleb stepped aside. "They snore?" he asked. She smiled. "Only when they feel safe." He nodded. "Then welcome home for now." Clara woke before the sun, long before the twins stirred beneath the old quilt Caleb had found. Daisy was already up, rooting softly at the kitchen rug like she owned the place. Clara moved through the farmhouse kitchen carefully, as if afraid to disturb the walls. Caleb found her rinsing dishes from a breakfast she'd cooked and eaten alone. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Clara glanced back. "Habit." He poured himself coffee and leaned against the door frame. "You always fix places that aren't yours?" She wiped her hands. "Only when they let me stay." Caleb didn't say anything, but he watched her. How she moved. How she held tension in her shoulders, like someone always ready to flee. The twins adjusted quickly to ranch life. Ethan liked chasing the chickens, even if Daisy grunted in protest every time he got too close. Lila was quieter. She sat beside Caleb when he worked on saddle straps, watching with big eyes and a calmness that didn't match her age. Clara offered to help wherever she could: fences, cooking, cleaning the tool shed no one had touched since spring. "You don't have to earn your place here," Caleb said one afternoon. Clara looked up from the feed bin she was scrubbing. "I do. You just don't know it yet." He didn't ask what that meant. That evening, the twins fell asleep on the porch swing, wrapped together in an old blanket. Daisy lay nearby, as if standing guard. Caleb brought Clara a cup of tea. She took it, eyes on the horizon. "You plan to stay long?" he asked. She sipped. "I didn't plan anything. People usually show up at my place looking for something or hiding from something." He tilted his head. "Which are you?" Clara didn't answer right away. "Does it matter?" He studied her. The way she gripped the mug. The way she avoided his gaze. "No," he said finally. "Not if the pigs still don't snore." She laughed for real this time. The sound was soft, almost surprised. "Daisy's the only one with no trauma," she said. "She seems smug about it," Caleb added. Clara looked at him. "Thank you for not asking too many questions. I'll ask when you're ready to answer." She nodded, eyes shining just a little. The next morning, Caleb found Clara repairing a broken hinge on the barn door. He stopped, crossed his arms. "Didn't know you were handy. My dad was a mechanic. Taught me how to fix things before I learned how to cook." "Explains why your biscuits are heavy," he teased. Clara threw a washer at him, but she smiled. Later that week, Caleb took Clara and the twins to town for supplies. People stared, of course. Pine Hollow was small, and strangers were headlines. At the hardware store, Clara disappeared down the aisles with the twins. When Caleb found them, Ethan was riding a display wheelbarrow, and Lila had a lollipop half melted in her fist. Clara was kneeling by the paint samples, staring at colors. "You thinking of painting the barn?" he asked. She startled, then shook her head. "Just looking." He noticed her hand resting on a pale blue swatch. "You okay?" She stood. "I used to paint a long time ago." He didn't press. That night, back at the ranch, Caleb sat on the porch steps while Clara rocked the twins inside. He thought about the way she looked at things. Tools, paint chips, coffee mugs, as if they might vanish. He thought about the way Daisy had decided this was her new home without permission. And he thought about the moment Clara had smiled in the truck when Lila fell asleep on her lap, like maybe this life wasn't so foreign after all. When she came outside, barefoot and quiet, he scooted over to make space. She sat close but not touching. "They never sleep through the night," she whispered. "But tonight they did." A long pause. Caleb turned toward her. "So, what did you paint back then?" Clara looked up at the stars. "Windows, doors, anything I could find that didn't lock me in." And just like that, Caleb understood. She wasn't just a woman passing through. She was someone who had once been trapped and now painted her way out. The days rolled by in golden light and honest work. Clara fell into rhythm with the ranch, feeding animals, fixing broken gates, learning how to mend saddles from Caleb's patient hands. The twins were thriving. Ethan chased butterflies and climbed everything he could. Lila helped Caleb water the garden every morning, her tiny hands careful and precise, and Daisy had claimed the back porch like a queen. Caleb began to notice the little changes. Clara laughed more easily. She stood taller. The haunted look in her eyes faded just a little when she watched the kids run through tall grass. But he also noticed the way she still kept a go bag under the couch. The way she flinched at loud noises. The way she never used her last name. One evening, as the sky turned orange, Caleb found Clara brushing down a horse with the twins sleeping nearby in the hay. "You were meant for this," he said softly. Clara looked up, caught off guard. "What? This place? These kids? Even the grumpy pig likes you." Daisy snorted indignantly from the doorway. Clara smiled, then shook her head. I wasn't meant for anything. I was thrown into it. You landed well. Her eyes shone in the dusk. Only because you didn't throw me out. That night, thunder rolled in the distance. Clara paced the living room while Caleb checked the windows. You okay? He asked. Storms make them nervous. The twins whimpered in their sleep. Clara sat between their beds, one hand on each child. Caleb brought blankets, lit the old oil lamp, and sat down on the floor beside her. They stayed that way for a while, watching shadows flicker across the walls. Did you love him? Caleb asked quietly. Clara didn't pretend not to understand. No, she said. I feared him. She looked up. And when I stopped fearing, he got worse. Caleb's fists clenched. Is he looking for you? I don't know, she said. But he always said no one would ever believe me. That I was nothing without him. Well, he was wrong. Clara blinked at the firelight. Why are you being so kind to us? Caleb leaned his head back against the wall. Because someone was kind to me when I needed it, and I never forgot what it felt like. The storm passed by dawn, and with it, something shifted between them. Clara started leaving her bag in the closet instead of under the couch. Caleb found her humming as she folded laundry, her voice soft and steady. And one morning she cooked breakfast and added cinnamon to the biscuits. You trying to poison me? He teased. Improving your life, actually. Daisy disagrees. The pig had claimed a windowsill and snorted her disapproval loudly. Clara laughed and rolled her eyes. Caleb noticed how her hair curled around her face in the light. How the sound of her laugh felt like something rare. That afternoon, a car pulled up the dirt road. Dust billowed in its wake. It was black and sleek, too polished for this place. Clara froze on the porch, her entire body going still. The twins clutched her leg. Daisy fluffed her bristles like she sensed a fight. Caleb stepped in front of her instinctively. A man in a suit stepped out of the car. He looked out of place, city expensive. I'm looking for someone, he said, eyeing the ranch. Name's Clara Bennett. Traveling with 2 children. Caleb didn't blink. Never heard of her. The man tilted his head. You sure? I know who's on my land. And if you're here without reason, you should leave. The man studied him a moment longer, then gave a thin smile. If you see her, tell her she can't run forever. He left. The dust settled. The silence grew heavy. Clara's hands were shaking. Caleb turned. Is that him? No, she whispered. But he works for him. He placed a hand gently on her arm. You're not alone now. That night they slept in the living room again. Twins curled up between them. Daisy on the windowsill, always watching. Clara leaned against Caleb, exhausted. I'm scared, she murmured that he brushed her hair back softly. So was I when I first came here. That's how I knew it was the right place. She closed her eyes. Promise me something, she said. Anything. If anything happens, you keep them safe. He took her hand, warm and trembling. I will, but nothing's going to happen. Not while I'm breathing. Outside, the stars returned. And inside, Clara, who had once slept in fear beside hay and pigs, slept wrapped in arms that meant safety, and the heartbeat of a man who didn't need to speak to be trusted. The man in the suit didn't return the next day or the next, but the memory of him lingered like smoke in the rafters. Clara checked the locks twice at night now. She kept the twins close. Daisy never wandered far from the porch. But Caleb stayed calm, solid like a mountain she could lean on. He fixed the back fence, built a shelf for Clara's jars, and didn't push her with questions. She noticed the way he kept his rifle closer. The way he walked the perimeter after dark. The way his eyes scanned the road every morning before coffee. She also noticed something else. The way he smiled softer when Lila handed him wildflowers. The way he let Ethan ride his shoulders when feeding the cows. The way he looked at Clara sometimes like she wasn't broken, just rebuilding. One morning, Clara caught him staring at an old photo on the mantel. A woman smiling, blonde hair, eyes like sunlight. Clara hesitated. She was your wife? Caleb nodded, not looking away. Emma. What happened? Car accident. 6 years ago. She was heading back from town when a storm rolled in. Clara sat beside him, quiet. I didn't handle it well, he admitted. Buried myself in work, closed off. Told myself I was fine. He turned to her then, his eyes bare. Then you showed up with twins and a pig and no shoes. And suddenly this place had noise again. Clara's throat tightened. I didn't mean to stir things up. I needed it, he said. All of it. They sat there, two people who had lost things they didn't know how to name, finding something new without asking for it. That afternoon, they took the kids fishing. Ethan caught a stick. Lila fell asleep in Clara's lap. Caleb skipped stones and showed Clara how to cast a line. She was terrible at it. Maybe I was meant to mend things, not catch them, she said. He chuckled. There's beauty in both. When they walked home, Daisy waddled faithfully behind, head high like a general. Clara realized she hadn't looked over her shoulder all day. Later that week, a letter arrived. No stamp, no address, just folded paper tucked beneath the porch mat. Clara opened it with trembling hand. It was from him. He knew where she was. He promised forgiveness if she returned. Claimed she was delusional and dangerous, that the children would be better off if she let him take over. Caleb read the letter and said nothing. He walked outside and didn't come back for a long time. When he returned, he looked tired. I'll understand, he said softly, if you need to run. Clara stared at him. You think I want to run? I think you're scared. I'm always scared, but I'd rather face him here with you than run forever. Caleb stepped closer. Then stay. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Even if the pig snores? He smiled. Especially then. The next morning, Caleb drove into town alone. When he returned, he handed Clara a small envelope. Inside was a lawyer's card. I talked to someone, he said. She can help with custody protection. Emergency orders. I want you to be safe. Not just here, but legally. Clara looked at the card, then at him. You didn't have to. I wanted to. She threw her arms around him. It was instinct, natural, like gravity. He held her tightly, breathing her in. You're not alone anymore, he whispered. She pulled back slightly, enough to see his eyes. I know. I believe you. Then she kissed him, soft, hesitant, real, and Caleb, stoic, steady Caleb, melted. That night, as the kids slept and the wind blew soft through the curtains, Clara painted. She hadn't touched a brush in years. Now she stood barefoot in the kitchen, painting the back door sky blue. The same color she'd once dreamed about. Caleb stood behind her, arms crossed, watching. Thought you didn't want to leave, Marks, he said. I've changed my mind. She turned. This place saved me. He stepped forward. No, Clara. You saved yourself. We just left the light on. And with that, she leaned into him. No fear. No weight from the past, just the warmth of something new, something true. The sun rose slow and golden over Pine Hollow, spilling light over the porch, the pasture, and the kitchen window where Clara stood, holding her coffee like it held the whole world together. The back door was now painted soft sky blue. Ethan and Lila sat on the floor, drawing stick figures of pigs and cowboys. Daisy observed from a windowsill, clearly unimpressed by the art. Caleb entered with his hat tilted back and dirt on his boot. He kissed Clara's temple casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. It was. We got mail, he said, handing her an envelope. Clara's fingers trembled slightly as she opened it. Inside was a court order. Emergency custody granted. Restraining notice issued. Safety on paper. Real. She pressed the paper to her chest and let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding for months. They can't take them, she whispered. They're mine. They're safe. Caleb smiled, but his eyes glistened. Told you. She looked at him, tears and light mixed in her gaze. Thank you. You did this. I just held the rope. The next Sunday, Caleb drove the whole gang, Clara, the twins, and even Daisy in a crate, to the community fair. It was their first public outing as a family. People stared, sure. Small towns do that, but no one whispered judgment. Some even nodded politely. One older woman offered Clara a warm pie for the little ones. Ethan ate half with his fingers before they even left the booth. Clara laughed so hard she nearly cried. Caleb watched it all unfold, arms crossed, heart wide open. That evening, they sat on the porch swing, twins asleep upstairs, Daisy snuffling softly beneath them. Clara leaned into Caleb, bare feet resting on the rail, her hand resting gently on his chest. "You know," she said, "I never thought peace would look like this." "What did you picture?" he asked. "A quiet lake, a cabin, maybe something alone. But this," she looked around, "this is loud and messy and smells like feed bags. And it's perfect." Caleb chuckled. "That's what I aim for." Clara grew serious. "Do you ever wonder why we found each other?" "All the time. And I stopped needing a reason the moment I realized I never wanted you to leave." She turned to him. "I won't." He kissed her, soft and sure, not rushed, not uncertain. After all they'd endured, Clara's bruises and fears, Caleb's grief and solitude, this kiss was home. Later, they tucked the twins in. Lila held Caleb's finger until she drifted off. Ethan asked if they could stay. "Forever, ever." "Forever, ever," Clara promised. Downstairs, Caleb fixed tea while Clara swept crumbs off the table. Daisy stood in the middle of the kitchen, watching them like a tiny supervisor. Caleb glanced at the pig. "You think she approves?" Clara tilted her head. "She hasn't snorted in disapproval all day. That's a good sign. She's practically family." Daisy sneezed. Caleb raised a brow. "You think she's getting sentimental?" Clara laughed. "Only if she starts rolling in heart-shaped mud." As the house settled into silence, Caleb and Clara stood in the doorway watching the stars. The night air was warm, familiar. "You ever want more?" he asked softly. Clara thought for a long moment. "I want mornings like this one, and afternoons fixing fences, and kids who fall asleep dirty from playing hard. And you, right here." Caleb took her hand. "That's more than enough." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I used to think love came in big dramatic gestures, fireworks, speeches, but now I think it sounds more like a man saying stay if the pig don't snore." Caleb grinned. "Well, she hasn't yet." Daisy snorted from inside. They froze. Clara narrowed her eyes. "Was that a snore?" Caleb shrugged. "Might have been a yawn." They both laughed. And under a sky full of stars, in a house filled with laughter, stubborn animals, and second chances, a woman who had run her whole life finally stopped, because she wasn't running anymore. She was home, even if the pig did snore.